This is Dave from One Mad Fish again. Now here's the build. What I plan on trying to use is the ASRock H71 Pro BTC Revision 2 board. Mainly EVGA superclocked. I think I'll be using 10 superclocked, 1 regular overclocked, and then an Zotac 3 gig 1060 also. This has 6 slots. I plan on using 12 cards. With that said, I plan on using 2 of these. I got 2 motherboards that has one of these on them. One is on a 8 board capable motherboard. It has 10 cards on it. Then I have another board that is capable of running 6 cards, but it's running 8 because that one's on Windows. But on this build, I'm going to try putting 2 of these on the same motherboard. Not too sure if it's going to work, but I'm sure the hell going to try. Next up is the other little special option, since this will be running Simple Mining OS. Little 7-inch screen has mounting tabs on it. Full HDMI input, 2 USB power. You only need to use 1, and yes, that means you can use it right off the USB power off the motherboard. No extra cords. I will also be using a G3 power supplies. This is an 850 watt. I do have a 1000 watt power supply that's in the rig that I'm going to be taking down and upgrading, because the frame that it's in right now is a dual frame. It's a dual system frame. I don't want a dual system frame. It's really big. So I think I'm going to go fast forward through the build process. I'm actually going to skip a little bit because I got to take the other machine down, and then we'll go from there. We'll see if we can get it booted up tonight. Okay, here's the voiceover for the whole assembly. Taking out that brand new nice board that I thought was going to work. But as you will see shortly, it's not going to work, because I misread what CPU I had. CPU is not going to work because it's the wrong type. Found that out by doing a little research, typing in what CPU I actually have, and well, the LG 1151 CPU i3. And for that motherboard, I needed 1150. Oh, back in the bag. This is the motherboard I ended up using. Same motherboard that I actually grabbed the CPU from. I know a splitter does work on this motherboard, but I don't know if I can use 2 of them. The Z270 MSI motherboard. No, it was the Z170. My apologies. Which is still 1151 socket. My frame is just a little on the short side. I'm trying to make room for 2 power supplies, so I tried scooting it over really far, and realized I can work on that side because I want that screen to work. I want it to be mountable in a decent spot. So, off to the other side. Always make sure you have no metal shavings on your frame. You will likely short out everything. Now, the little HDMI cable I actually came with the screen was a little too short to where I wanted to mount it. So I said, screw it, I'll mount it where I want to mount it, and I'll get a little longer cable. Right there is where I could mount it. I didn't want it there, blocking everything. Make 2 dots where I want to put it, take everything off, drill some holes. I'm using an 1/8 inch drill bit with number 6 screws. Since it is aluminum, it works really nice. Yes, I did actually use some thermal compound on there. I use 1/4 inch nylon spacers to raise up my motherboard off of the wood. There is a space in the middle between the 2 pieces of wood because of the bracket underneath the CPU. is a little bit taller than a 1/4 inch. That's why I usually split my wood. Doesn't really affect anything as long as I'm not tightening it down too tight. Yeah, I'm checking right there to make sure that the CPU bracket is clear, which it is. Off to the power supplies. Now I don't use aluminum brackets to mount my power supplies in because these frames don't travel anywhere, so they just need to be held in place fairly securely. I'm drawing some lines on it and putting some screws in just to hold it so that they don't go back and forth, forward and back. Some screws on the side there just to help hold them sideways. That ain't gonna work with that, so I gotta do it the old-fashioned way, by hand. Putting the last couple screws in by angle so when they go in, that the heads actually put a little pressure against the other screws. They basically are locked in place. They're not gonna slide around if I end up moving the frame around. First off, I wanted to start off with power cable that goes to the motherboard, main 24 pin. Then of course the CPU pin, the CPU header. It's always nice to try to keep things fairly tidy as you go along because it'll be a pain in the butt to do it later on, trust me. Everything's free, nothing's hitting the fan, we're good. Off to the races with the cards. You always want to start with the bottom row. You could actually assemble, put on all the cables as you go, but I like putting all the cards on, make it look like you actually did something. Normally what I do is I put on the far right, furthest away from the power supply first, so I know that I have a cable that actually reaches the power supply. I'm currently using a 1000 watt G3 to start with. That's going to be powering most of the system. As I said, you know, try to tidy up your cables as you go. If you don't do it as you go, it's going to become even a bigger mess later on. Now, a 1000 watt G3 is capable of running power to 8 cards completely. That's including all the risers using SATAs, and I actually like to use 2 Molex ones. If you can see the ones that are closest to us, those are actually using Molex connectors to connect them to the bases, or to the risers. Use 2 Molex and the rest SATA to power the risers, and then there is enough PCI cables to power 8 cards. I'm throwing on USBs. Now I had 1 PCI riser splitter put in for 4 cards. Now I have all the PCI risers in. For the bottom row, I can start assembling the top row. The other 6 cards to make it an even 12. Get some new risers, version 7s with direct SATA connection. This is the first build I used with them. We'll pull out some brand new cards. Okay. It's always nice when you put brand new stuff in a nice rig. Alright, let's get back to putting them on. Got a riser, whoops. And reusing some of the older risers that I had. Sometimes when you have a riser laying around, you're always wondering if they're junk or not. Yeah, so all the cables are USB 3, because I do believe USB 2 will not work. You have to use the USB 3 cables that come with it. The cables you have are too short, you're gonna have to order new ones. You're gonna have to order new ones that are longer. Put in a few more risers, the end ones. Yep. Getting a little trickier to put cables in. Right now I'm using a 850 watt power supply. Making sure that I got all the cables connected so I know that I'm only using 2 per for the risers. You only want to put 2 risers per cable, max. Gotta keep things tidy. At least try to. Looks like a spaghetti monster just threw up on the back side of my rig. The advantage of using mini cards. Lots of room. All the power cables are now installed. Trying to snug up some of the cables a little bit. You can see that cable right in front there that's off to the side, that's loose. That will have temporarily a piece put on the end of it just to turn on the power supply. That comes with the power supply. That's why I was just saying there so I don't forget it. Making sure everything is all separated. Sure there's nothing binding up. And voila. Oh. Got one major part. Piece de resistance. Full screen. Well, HDMI cable I gotta plug in there yet, but other than that, that's the mess. Ta-da! Ta-da! Ba-ba!